Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Shamir Hizami bin Muhammad Saleh from Bosham 3, and today I am going to present maritime law, which include case studies about prestige oil spillage that happened in 2002 and the sinking of MV Derbyshire in 1980. So first of all, let's look at what maritime law is. Maritime law it is a list of law that regulates nautical issues and private maritime disputes. It consists of domestic law on maritime activities and private international law governing the relationships between private parties operating on ocean-going ships. Maritime law is also essential for global trade in the protection of both resources and personnel at sea. The International Maritime Organization, also known as IMO, keeps international maritime conventions up to date and develops new agreements as required. So let's look at the first case study, which is the Prestige oil spillage that happened in 2002. So on 13 November 2002, the Prestige carried 77,000 tons of heavy fuel oil. It encountered a winter storm off Costa da Morte, which is also known as the Coast of Death, in Galicia, northwestern Spain. The captain reported that there was a loud bang, and as the ship began to take on water from high waves, and it was discovered that there was a hole as deep as wide as 15 meters at the starboard side. So other than that, the Prestige was also refused to dock on the ports of French, Spanish, and Portuguese because the authorities refused their arrival. So they had to sail to the off coast, which after several days of sailing and towing, it sank about 2,050 kilometers from the Spanish coast, releasing over 64,000 cubic meters and polluting the coastline. It is the Spain's most severe ecological disaster. So here are the relevant law and convention. First, MARPOL 1992. In 1992, MARPOL was amended that every tanker with 5,000 tons dead weight or more, it was compulsory to install a double hull as stated in 1992 MARPOL Amendment Annex 1 Regulation 13F/19. It was applied to all ships that were built after 6 July 1994. However, the Prestige with a single hull tanker had been operating for 26 years, which means it was first built in 1976. Therefore, 1992 MARPOL Amendment was not legally enforced on an older ship. So the second law is SOLAS 1974. SOLAS 1974, Chapter 5, Regulation 15.1 states that all tankers of 20,000 tons dead weight and above, such as oil, gas, and other types of chemical tankers, must be provided with emergency towing. The Prestige had an emergency towing, which means it was legally compliant with the regulation. So here are the critical evaluation of the case study. While the Prestige complied with MARPOL and SOLAS requirements, the disaster still occurred due to the captain's poor judgment in operational decisions. Despite facing hull damage in rough weather conditions, the captain still continued navigating the ship. Other than that, the captain also towed the ship away from the coast in coordination with the authorities, which then led to an oil spill to the surrounding region. Delay in requesting assistance was also the source of disaster, as late communication worsened the situation. However, the captain was not the only one to be blamed, because the regulations on all ships also contributed to the disaster, in which the ship was not compliant with 1992 MARPOL, but still legally allowed to sail. Also, the refusal of three authorities, French, Spain, and Portuguese, left the ship with no choice but to be towed on the coastline. So the second case study is the sinking of MV Derbyshire, 1980. So MV Derbyshire is the biggest vessel to have ever been lost at sea. It was a Liverpool registered ship built in 1976. It was only after 4 years of operating in September 1980 in South China Sea during a Typhoon Orchid while on its way from Canada to Japan. It was recorded that 44 people died on board, including 42 crew members and 2 of their wives. So here are the relevant laws. First, SOLAS 1974. As stated in Regulation 12/12, bulk carriers must install water detecting systems such as alarms that can detect water entering the ship. This allows the crew members to be alert and act immediately to warn the other crew members. Derbyshire did not have such system in 1980, which caused the crew members to not be aware until it was too late, and the ship sank progressively. Another one is also SOLAS 1994, but Regulation 12/13 states that all ships must have pumping system that can pump out water entering the ship area quickly. This is to control flooding before it gets worse. Derbyshire did not have a pumping system, which once the water entered the ship, there was no effective way to stop it. So the critical evaluation, which the investigations found that the vessel had been following the recommended weather routing, but they encountered an extreme and unpredictable typhoon. This indicates that the weather monitoring system could not forecast accurate weather at the time. Also, the absence of Mayday distress signal tells us that the ship sank rapidly, causing the crew members to have insufficient time to get emergency rescue. So it is found that there was no proof of human error in this case study, and it was all due to structural weakness and the lack of advanced tools. So here are the modern challenges. First, digitalization. As a preventive measure for future cases similar to MV Derbyshire, high-level alarm and water detection systems could alert the crew members about the flooding to prepare for emergency response. Just as amended to SOLAS 1974 Regulation 12/12, which also same goes to the Prestige. A structural monitoring system could have detected hull damage, potentially preventing oil spill. The second is AI monitoring. Predictive analytics and machine learning tools are widely used to predict potential structural weaknesses, forecast extreme weather, and optimize route planning. While SOLAS and ISM code provide safety and operational frameworks, AI technologies extend these predictions by allowing real-time assessment and early warning, which reduce the likelihood of sudden catastrophic failures. The third one is sustainability. Under MARPOL amendments, double hull requirements are strengthened in order to address the type of environmental disaster caused by the Prestige spill. Today, Such measures significantly reduce the risk of oil releases. The final one is the supply chain and operational resilience, which continued to pose challenges. Commercial incentives for speed or cost efficiency may influence operational decisions such as selling despite hull damage or navigating through extreme weather. So here are the improvements. First, real-time structural monitoring. The integration of real-time structural monitoring systems and digital communication tools should be mandatory to allow early detection of hull damage. Second is AI weather routing, which integrates AI-assisted weather routing and risk assessment tools into a regulatory framework, and it could support a better decision making when navigating extreme weather conditions. The third one is the removal of aging ship. The MARPOL requirements must be enhanced by mandating the gradual removal of usage of aging vessels. And the final one is providing scenario-based training to improve the crew members' preparedness. In conclusion, the findings of this report show that while existing conventions such as SOLAS, MARPOL, and ISM code provided a framework for safety, limitations in design standards, regulatory gaps, and operational decision making also contribute to both disasters. Even though the current regulations have significantly reduced the probability of similar incidents, they do not entirely eliminate the risk. Modern challenges such as extreme weather conditions, human decision making, and increasing reliance on technology require continuous updates to regulatory frameworks. Therefore, while international maritime conventions are effective, further improvements in areas such as digitalization, AI-driven monitoring, and emergency coordination are also necessary to ensure a higher level of safety and sustainability in the maritime industry. So that's it for my presentation of my maritime law. Thank you everyone.